So I haven't made a video in a few years. Obviously things are a little different. These are bigger and I have less hair now, so that's cool. A lot of you guys gave me a lot of shit for my last video, saying things like, you don't know what you're talking about, I did this and it worked for me, and everybody's body is different. You know what, from my experience, a lot of them are the same. They're all affected by the same strain you put on your lobes, and whether yours snapped or not does not mean that everybody else should do it the same way that you did. So I guess I'll start at the beginning. Essentially, once your ears are pierced and you find that you want to stretch them, typically steel works the best, mainly because it isn't porous at all. It won't stick to your ear, it's very easy to keep it clean, and it doesn't look half bad either. Up until your ears are around the size of a 00 or even a 0, whatever, you know, my fingers are not super tiny, so trying to get tape to wrap around a really small plug, not very easy. 00 is usually a good size to start using tape, which brings us back to the famous debate of what to not use when you're upsizing. Electrical tape is a fucking nightmare. It's incredibly porous, there's so many chemicals, it's bad news. Just don't do it. Bondage tape, a little bit more awkward to acquire in the first place because you're probably going into a sex shop or sending your buddy in there or something. And number 2 is going to be Ptfe tape or plumber tape. It is, you know, meant for sealing pipes and shit like that. It's probably your best option, honestly, because bondage tape is very sharp on the edges, whereas Ptfe tape is very soft and really thin, so you can pile it onto your jewelry for a really long time. And if any part of it rips on you or whatever, you just replace it because it's thin enough that your body won't tell the difference. Which brings me back to another brutal debate that people never shut the fuck up about, silicone and stretching with silicone. Silicone is also very porous, and typically straight out of the factory it's covered in all sorts of shit. So if you're gonna wear jewelry, even if your ears are healed, you're gonna want to clean the fuck out of your silicone tunnels for a long time before you put them in. They're gnarly out of the factory, like they're gross. They will make you think you're allergic to everything. So not only should you not stretch with them, but don't pop them in as soon as you get them out of the bag. Like, clean them and, you know, take care of them, make sure your ears are ready for it before you put them in. If you decide to pop in a set of silicone tunnels before your ears are healed and before they're at that size, you're gonna rip your ears. You're gonna hurt them really bad. Whether it's like a micro tear or something way worse, you're gonna hurt yourself. It's really tricky to not injure yourself when you're trying to do that. Like I said, I don't care what you or your buddy did that worked for you. 90% of people are gonna experience a fucking disaster if they take your advice, so I don't care. You should take breaks in between sizes. You should let your ears chill out to the point where you can, you know, sleep with them out, or if they fall out when you're sleeping and they don't shrink, it means they're pretty well healed at that size. You know, once they are fully circulated and they're healed and they're not shrinking every time you take them out, typically safe to upsize. Obviously the longer you wait the better. Most of the time I find that when I want to upsize, I will usually find myself, you know, walking down the street and my tunnel will just fall out. Usually means it's safe to go. I don't believe in dead stretching, whatever the fuck that means, or whatever, using nothing to help your new ones go in and just forcing them into your ears. Not a good idea for anybody. In the bigger sizes, jewelry is heavy enough that it'll weigh your ears down, and they will stretch a bit. From 2.5 inches, like what I was at in that last video, those plugs are simply destroyed. They're chipped all over the place, and it's just because they keep falling out. Like, I can't wear them, so I had to upsize. These are 2 3/4. The key to maintaining your ears is going to be to keep them clean all the time. I know people who simply didn't care to take their jewelry out ever. And yes, people do that. They don't take them out ever. And it's gnarly as fuck. You have to take them out, whether they are healed or not. You're taking them out to shower, you're cleaning your ears, you're cleaning your jewelry, and you're cleaning your hands so that once you get out, you know, you're not putting more bacteria all the way around, because whether you think they're healed or not, if you start jamming all sorts of fucking bacteria in between your lobe and the jewelry, it'll fuck you right up. So just don't. If it gets cold where you are and you need to keep them a bit more moisturized, vitamin E oil is typically the best. I've heard all sorts of different types that work pretty well, but vitamin E is the easiest to acquire, and it works really well. It'll stay on your ears for a very long time. It's not just like some cream that you throw on there and your skin absorbs it and then it falls off and then whatever. It lasts a long time. Where I'm from, it gets so cold to the point that when you step outside, you get instant wind burn basically. So I keep mine pretty well moisturized. My routine is every morning. I obviously don't have anything in my ears first thing in the morning, but I'll typically go into the shower, and then I have some 2 1/4 inch silicone tunnels. I showed them in my last video. I throw those in. I still use this same method. I throw them in as soon as I get in the shower, and while I'm showering, it just allows my ears to open back up, because they've slept them out. Even if I think my ears are really healed, I'm still gonna do that just because it's just easier on them. 1 or 2 sizes down is safe for opening them back up in the morning. But yeah, throughout, don't use wood in the shower obviously, but anything else, steel, if you have a smaller size of silicone, something like that, just to help them open back up. And once they're good, then you get out of the shower, you can throw your moisturizer on, whatever, or your other clean jewelry, and just pop them back in, and then you're good without any, extra pressure first thing in the morning, because that's super uncomfortable and nobody likes being uncomfortable at work or school or whatever you're doing. I've never blown my ears out. As you can see, they're the same size all the way around on both. There's no flap on the back, there's nothing. They're in pretty good shape. I did have to get surgery to get to this big, so I don't really have much tissue up top. They cut out like 10 millimeters on either side, I think. And that's simply because it got cold here, my skin got dry, there was a micro tear on both, and I didn't know that, and they slowly ripped across the top going this way. I downsized for probably a year, so keeping them moisturized and clean is important. Depending on what kind of response I get from this video, as you can see, the production value between this and my last video is significantly different. This isn't my cell phone anymore, so if you guys want a different video, whether it's about a different piercing or whatever, if you have other more detailed questions, just start throwing them in the comments. I do have a little bit more time lately to get back to you guys, so you can let me know what you want to know. Take your time, keep them super clean all the time. Clean your jewelry. Don't listen to fucking idiots. Don't cheap out. Don't do any of that shit.